up, Kryptonians? Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Today I am reviewing a movie called Black Widow. Black Widow is the 24th, I believe, movie set within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is also the first MCU movie that we've gotten in 2 years. This movie was supposed to come out last year, but it didn't because of obvious reasons. This functions both as a solo spin-off movie for Black Widow, as well as sort of a prequel because it takes place at an earlier point in the timeline for the universe. Film once again has Scarlett Johansson reprising her role as the Black Widow. You've got Florence Pugh, David Harbour in this movie as Red Guardian. You've got Rachel Weisz. Like I said, this movie takes place at an earlier point in the MCU timeline. I believe it takes place between Civil War and the next appearance that we saw Black Widow, which was Avengers Infinity War. So it takes place between Civil War and Infinity War. And during this time, Black Widow is, she's off the grid. She's trying to hide out from the governments of the world that are looking to punish her and Captain America because of the Sokovia Accords. Along the way, she sort of gets pulled into something that she didn't fully understand, something that has ties to her past, something that involves her family that she has not been in touch with for over 20 years. Along the way, there are shootouts and there are fights and there are explosions and there's a whole bunch of pew pew, Not necessarily Florence pewing, but just a bunch of pew pew, 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 pew. I don't want to generalize here, but I feel like I speak for a lot of people who felt the same way that I did when the opening credits of this movie were rolling.
It's about damn time. It's about damn time.
I'm not going to regurgitate the same criticism that you're going to hear in every single movie review, which is, this movie should have came out years ago. It should have came out during phase 2. Yeah, we know that. They know that. Like, everybody knows that. We're all on the same page as it regards to when we should have gotten a Black Widow movie. It's not a criticism as it relates to this movie, though. I'm gonna try to judge this movie on its own merits for what it is, which I would hope most people are trying to do, and I'm going to try to do in this video. Right off the bat, I can tell you my favorite thing about this movie is the family dynamic. There is some very strong interplay between the family in this movie, between Widow and between Yelena and between David Harbour and Rachel Weisz. Like, it's very complicated at times and it's kind of messy, but hey, what family isn't, right? When you look at these characters and their past and the trauma that they've had to overcome and what they've had to become as a result of that trauma, when you look at some of the scenes in this movie, there's definitely a lot more emotion put into it than you would have thought. Scarlett Johansson has always been pretty good as Black Widow. Not good in the sense that I can't see anybody else being Black Widow, but she definitely has done a good job in the universe before, and she does a pretty decent job in this movie as well. David Harbour is probably the guy that is going to be looked at as the comic relief of this movie, but it's not his fault that he's a great actor and he has some of the funniest moments. Florence Pugh was already a great actress before this movie came out. If you haven't seen her in some of her other work, you definitely need to look that shit up, but in this movie specifically, she stole the spotlight. She was easily the best thing about this movie. She had some of the best lines. She had some of the best character moments. She kicked a ton of ass in the action scenes. So if you're looking for a highlight from the film, the thing that's most memorable is probably Florence Pugh's character, which is sort of a backhanded compliment because you would think that in a Black Widow movie, Black Widow is the standout character. Don't get me wrong, if you're a Black Widow fan, sure, there's plenty of moments where she has moments, but if you're looking for who is the moment for the movie, oh no, it's Florence Pugh, no question. As far as the action goes in the movie, there definitely are more than their fair share of set pieces that are gonna thrill and entertain people, as you would come to expect from a Marvel movie at this point. I will say that some of the CG and the green screen work is definitely subpar compared to what they normally do. If you're looking for an underlying theme or message about damaged women and them kind of breaking free physically and metaphorically of the shackles of men in power or men who love control, like, if you're looking for a deeper message to take from this movie, I do think this movie tries to go in that direction a few times. You know what Black Widow was? Black Widow was just fine, it was just fine. It was okay, it was nothing special. It wasn't too good, it also wasn't too bad. This is both a compliment to my low expectations going into the movie, as well as an indictment on how good I think the movie actually could have been. I have a number of different issues with this movie. One is the fact that the story and the plot itself is not very engaging. It takes about 40 to 45 minutes in this movie before we have like a narrative push where you kind of understand where the story is trying to go. Unfortunately, even at that point, even though you understand characters and their motivations and why they feel the way they feel, the movie just did, in my opinion, a very poor job of getting me to actually care about it. It also sometimes applies to Natasha, who sometimes feels like she's a passenger in her own movie. It feels like she's kind of just along for the ride, like she's getting dictated to by the plot and the character motivations of other people. Which leads to another issue with this movie, is that it has kind of a broken identity crisis thing. On one hand, it's this darker, grittier, emotional spy thriller type of movie. Then on the other hand, it's this silly, over-the-top MCU blockbuster that you've come to expect from the MCU at this point. On the other hand, it's also a movie that feels like it's here as a world builder. It's here to kind of set up other characters going forward in the future of the MCU. So it feels like its attention is being split in different ways. Tonally speaking, the movie's just a little bit jangled. And I also think that this brings up another issue, which, holy shit, I'm starting to get to a lot of them. It's the same issue that a lot of MCU films have had for me personally over the last few years, which is their inability to make any scene with real drama or real tension stick because they have to finish it off or deflect it or distract it with a joke. I like jokes, I like laughing, I like smiling. I'm not saying get rid of all humor in MCU movies. You know the humor is gonna be there, and there are some funny moments in this movie for sure. There are too many moments where you feel like there are scenes that would be better if they kind of held back a little bit and treated the moment as if it were sincere. Any kind of tension or any kind of drama, any kind of genuine emotional moment. The movie just feels like it's afraid of those type of moments, and it doesn't treat them with some of the sincerity that it deserves. As far as Taskmaster goes, what
the hell are you? No! No! No!
You know what? There's no productive conversation that we're gonna have about Taskmaster in this video, so let's not talk about Taskmaster. As far as a send-off for one of the legacy characters in the MCU, I thought it could have definitely been better, and it's definitely very flawed. But in terms of a general MCU action blockbuster, I did have some fun. I did have some enjoyment with it. This is a film that's slightly above average, nothing special, nothing too bad. I'm gonna leave this one in the Daily Planet. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what is your favorite MCU movie of all time? Put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.